Okay, hi. So it is June. We are about halfway through the year, so I decided it'd be a good time to check in on my goals, my reading goals, reading intentions, reading focus for the year, and see how I've been doing. Okay, so my first goal has been an ongoing one, and that has been to reduce my physical TBR. And in my goals video, I talked about how I needed to do that by acquiring less books. So I have been doing like a book buying challenge through the year to reduce the amount of books that I am acquiring. I have a point system. I'll link probably below. I'll link a video where I talk about like how I've been doing. I did a check-in in May, but then since I did my check-in, I definitely bought more books. I was having to do like a lot of adulting, and it was like I hadn't been to my used bookstore in a while, and I really needed to go donate books to him or sell him back some books. So I just went and I just like let myself buy some books. So now I'm in like some book buying debt with myself, but it's fine. So I started off the year with 181 unread books on my shelves, and I currently have 170. So, it is only reduced by 11 books, but progress is progress. So we're not going to discredit or discount what I have done because I am 11 books less than where I started at the beginning of the year. Okay, so in 2022, I've purchased 37 books, but 11 of those were books that I had already read, and then I acquired to have them on just to own them, so I don't count that for this. So 37 minus 11 is 26. So I've acquired 26 books, which isn't like that bad. I mean, like that's like technically like one a week because we're about halfway through the year. So my goal for the year was 150, which would have been 30 books, read 31 books, take off 31 books off my TBR by the end of the year, which means around this time I should have been at 15 instead of 11. But like that's like not that far behind. So if my goal is actually 150 books, I feel like I'm like semi on track. Okay, we'll also get into my Kindle TBR a little bit. I don't really track this one as much because it's so much more manageable. But just so you guys know the stats, Kindle stats, just pulling up my handy dandy spreadsheet. I started out the year with 41 books on my Kindle TBR, and I am currently at 35. So that one has gone down by about half the amount that my physical one was gone down, which makes sense because I probably read about half as much of my books on my Kindle as I do physically or on audio. Okay, so my next goal for the year was under the umbrella of reading more diversely. In last year, in 2021, I focused more of my reading on reading books by Indigenous authors and reading books that were in translation. And I switched my focus for 2022, and my goal, so essentially, I cannot say this succinctly, but I'm essentially trying to read diverse classics that are less known. So that can be classics in translation that are translated into English that are lesser known within the English-speaking world or not read as much. So like a very famous Russian classic would not count for that for me. It could mean reading books by authors of color that are classics from the United States that are lesser known. So, I read Toni Morrison for the first time this year, but that would not count because Toni Morrison is extremely well known. And the well known is very loose. I'm loosely playing with that. I'm also loosely playing with the term classic. So like a genre classic could count for this. The intention was to read older backlist books that are lesser known, that are diverse in nature or diversely collected from the world. So I have read 6 books so far. So that's about 1 a month, which I would say is pretty good. I'm just going to list out the books that I read for this, and if you had any interest in them, I can link to the wrap-ups that I talked about them in. The first one was The Tales of the Takongs. The next one was Mrs. Spring Fragrance by Sin Sui Far. Is that what it is? I own it now. It was cute. I liked the book. Okay, yeah. Mrs. Spring Fragrance by Sui Sin Far, which was a short story collection. Tale of the Takongs was also a short story collection. I read No No Boy by John Okada, which is an American-Japanese classic. I read Yokohama, California by Toshio Mori, which is a Japanese classic short story collection. And I read Rachel by Angelina something Grimke, which is a play that came out in the 1910s by a black playwright. And I read Our Sister Killjoy, which is a kind of short story collection, but they're kind of connected. It's hard to define. That is a classic from Africa, I believe Ghana. So I'm on track with this one. I think like one a month is a good focus, and I read a lot of them last month, but I have more planned for the year, so I think I'm good and on track with that goal. Okay, so my next one is series continuations. So essentially, I don't want to have a bunch of series started and not done. I feel like that's just like something I see on BookTube all the time. I think the first series I wanted to complete was one I was part of the way through, which was the Murderbot Diaries, which I finished up until book 6, which is the one that's out. The other one I have not finished, but I've made progress in. Oh God. So this is from the Shattered Sand series. This is book 4, which I'm like a little bit into. So, and there's 6 books, and I think like 5 novellas, and I think, yeah, so I'm about halfway through that series at this point, so I haven't made a ton of progress, but I'm getting through it. I'm trying to think if I've started any other series. I'm reading the Greenbone Saga with my partner, but when we read together, it's so slow that I don't even count whatever we're working on together because it takes way longer than it would take me personally to get through a series. And then I'm trying to think if I have any other series going. I don't, but I'm going to start the Farseer trilogy in July with Mariana at Mariana Moss Books. So I will have multiple series going, and I really wanted to get the Shattered Sand series done before, but I just didn't prioritize it. So I'm still doing good. I don't have too many active series, and I'm trying to complete things. Okay. I've just been going back to my video that I recorded, and one thing I didn't talk about in here, but I made a video separate, was to read like 22 nonfiction books I wanted to read in 2022. So I would essentially have to read like 2 a month and to keep up, which I've been okay on. So I should have read 12 at this point to be caught up or to be on track, and I've read 8. So 8 of my 22 books so far, and I'm actively reading a 9th one, and I'll just go down the list of the ones that I've read so far, and you could, if you're more interested in the books, you could check my wrap-up. I've also read a lot more nonfiction aside from the things on this list. I kind of made that list in order to focus on reading a little bit more nonfiction throughout the year, and that's been successful because I've started reading things outside of the scope of that as well. And the one I just read was like, this wasn't on my list, but it was like about Beanie Babies, which is so funny because then I was at an estate sale over the weekend, and there was like multiple bins of Beanie Babies, and I had just finished reading the book within the week, and so I was just like going through all the Beanie Babies and like thinking about them through the context of the book I read and like about the person who made them, who was very problematic. But anyway, I read Sitting Pretty, The Second Amendment, Medical Apartheid, Push Out, What's Your Pronoun, Death and Life of the Great American City, which I actually DNF'd, but very far in. I was like 80% into that when I DNF'd it. In the Dream House, and The Collected Schizophrenias, and I'm currently reading something about policing, The End of Policing. So then I discussed a few channel goals, and one of them was to be posting weekly, which I have kind of done for the most part. I've like missed weeks here and there. Sometimes I'm just like not inspired to like talk about books in any capacity. And a lot of my like mental energy has been going into other facets of my life. So if I haven't felt like filming, I just haven't done it. But I have approximately posted about once a week. So on track for that one. Okay, so those were all of my goals for the year, and that's kind of where I'm at with all of them. So I'm feeling pretty good with all of them. I feel like I'm on track. I don't think I have any additional ones, and I really feel like these have been working for me. I've really enjoyed the unknown classics one, or like whatever we want to call that. I've picked up some really interesting books that I have not ever seen anyone talk about before. And like it's kind of just like opened up this like world of like researching books and researching classics, and it's been really cool to see how some of these classics that even last year when I was searching for them hadn't been picked up by a publisher recently, so they were out of print. As an example, Miss Spring Fragrance just got a reprint for the first time in quite a while. That is always exciting to see because it doesn't cost the publishers nearly as much to pick these up because they don't have any copyrights that they have to buy. But anyway, that's going to be all for my video. Let me know how you're doing with your goals for the year, reading intentions, whatever you want to call them. And until next time, happy reading.